spectacular fire at the old Crystal Lab factory started last night and could be seen from miles around. Tonight it's still burning, but as Channel 3's Tracy Martinez reports, there's a new danger to worry about.
The night may be young, but for Hartford firefighters, the last 24 hours have been long. They've been battling a fast-moving fire at the former Crystal Lab factory. Firefighters tell us the hardest work is over. They've put out as much of the fire as they can. Now firefighters just have to wait, see, and wait some more.
Because of the condition of the building, we are not going in there to pull it apart and hit the hot spots. Basically, we're just letting it burn as much as possible.
Right now, the firefighters' biggest concern is the billboard on top of the factory. It sits on the roof of the building, so when the roof goes, so will the billboard.
At the moment, we're trying to figure out which way it's going to fall and or if there are ways to prevent it from falling via cranes or what have you.
The sign hangs over the far right lane of 84 West. As a precaution, state troopers have blocked this lane off. They say it could take another 10 hours for the fire to completely burn itself out. In less than an hour yesterday, the entire inside of this former photo processing factory was gutted. The fire, accelerated by old chemicals and oils, was tough to fight.
Buildings like this are all over the city, in fact, all over Connecticut. Old industrial buildings that have no useful life. You know, the wood is full of chemicals. Oils and chemicals are in the wood.
The vacant Crystal Lab, known as the Castle to local residents, has drawn homeless people since the factory shut down 10 years ago. Firefighters are fairly certain the building was vacant when the fire started, but they can't be 100% sure until they can send investigators in.
We haven't really been able to get inside the building because obviously you can see it's still burning and it's extremely unstable. So to my knowledge, there's nobody in there at this point.
The Department of Public Safety has just told us 2 lanes on 84 West are now closed and will remain closed up until 9 o'clock tonight. Firefighters still don't know how the Crystal Lab fire started and probably won't know for several more days. Once the investigation is finished, however, the city plans to completely demolish what's left of the Crystal Lab factory. We're live in the Satellite Center. I'm Tracy Martinez.
Furiously working to remove a billboard off the former Crystal Lab factory while the building continues to burn. It went up in flames more than 24 hours ago, and tonight city officials and the building owner are trying to decide if the building can be salvaged or if it should be demolished, which could cost the city major money.
A crane rips down the billboard that stood on top of the old Crystal Lab factories. Officials not taking any chances on the sign tumbling onto Interstate 84, which runs right next to the building. The billboard also blocking the path for firefighters.
Well, we figure if we get the billboard down, we can get closer in and extinguish the remaining small elements of fire we have.
The former filter factory went up in flames fast and furious last night, taking all 11 of Hartford's fire companies to fight it. Right now, city inspectors waiting for the fire to be put out so they can make a final assessment.
It looks like it's for all intents and purposes, it will be demolished. We're trying to wait to hear from the owner to find out what his intentions are.
A representative of the owner, Martin Media, tells Fox 61 the company did have plans for the building. He didn't want to go on camera, but says the company is waiting to hear the results of a building inspection. If Martin Media decides not to salvage the building, demolishing it could end up costing the city a pretty penny.
We have an emergency demolition fund, but this would take a considerable chunk out of that.
Now, the city inspector says right now there's about $250,000 in that fund, and he estimates it will probably take almost $200,000 to rip down the building. The city will try to recoup the money from the owners of that building. Investigators still aren't saying if this is a case of arson, but the Martin Media representative says the company paid to have the building secured.
And at this hour, firefighters on the scene of yet another blaze tonight. Officials are battling a fire in the 3-story building on the corner of Lafayette and Grand Streets. They tell us the building is vacant and has caught on fire before. Last night, fire crews fought a blaze around the corner at another vacant apartment building on Oak Street. No word on whether those 2 fires are all...
may be to blame. It started on Saturday at the Crystal Lab adjacent to I-84. The huge billboard that hangs over the highway was taken down this morning because officials feared it had been weakened by the fire and was in danger of falling on the interstate. Then hours later on Sunday, firefighters were called to an abandoned apartment building, this one on Lafayette Street. Firefighters were also called to put out a blaze at an abandoned house, that on Oak Street. The cause of all 3 fires has not yet been determined. There is little hope in Russia today, where rescue efforts continue in the...
I've never seen like 3 major fires in 2 days in this proportion, and it's a little unusual.
It has been a weekend of hell for Hartford firefighters. First, this fire Saturday night at the former Crystal Lab building on Capitol Avenue. A short time later, just blocks away on Oak Street, this three-story building went up in flames. Last night, not far away on Lafayette, another 3-story building. The arson investigation is underway.
They'll find out the seed of the fire, see if there was a accelerant used, or, possibly try to locate where the fire started, and that would tell them a lot.
If you saw anything or anyone suspicious near the 3 buildings over the weekend, call the Hartford Fire Department. Here's the number. They'd appreciate the help, 722-8250.